Would you like more champagne, Ma? Patrick asked, refilling my glass before I could answer. I smiled nervously, glancing at my son and his fiancée. We were celebrating their engagement with a small family dinner, but I felt uneasy. To your happiness, Olivia said, clinking her glass with mine. I nodded and took a big sip. There's something we want to talk to you about tonight, Patrick said, giving Olivia a sly look. We're planning a huge engagement party next month. Only the best for our perfect union. I laughed nervously. How wonderful for you both, but those parties can get quite expensive, can't they? Oh, we're not paying a thing, Olivia said, waving her hand. That's going to be your gift to us. I nearly choked on my champagne. I'm sorry. As Patrick's mother, it's your duty to pay, Olivia continued. We expect you to contribute at least $31,000. Consider it an investment in your son's future. $31,000 for a party, I said, shocked. Do you have any idea how unreasonable that is? Don't be ridiculous, Mom, Patrick interrupted. You make good money, and you have all the inheritance money from Dad that you've been saving. My husband's recent death from cancer was still fresh in my mind. That money is for my retirement, I said, and to pay these expenses without even consulting me first. Olivia rolled her eyes. Still going on about being consulted? Get over yourself. You're the mother of the groom. This is what's expected. Pay up and be grateful we're letting you contribute at all. You should feel honored we're even inviting you. Write the damn check so we can start planning, Patrick sneered. I sat there, stunned by their arrogance and disregard. Honey, be reasonable. You can have a lovely party without extravagant costs. Let's scale things back a bit. Patrick slammed his fist on the table, rattling the glasses. I knew you would pull this cheap crap, he shouted. Some mother you are. Can't even support your only son. Hot tears sprang to my eyes as I took in their angry faces. I had spoiled my son over the years, but I never thought he could treat me so badly. I stood up quickly, disgusted by the two vipers in my home. I think you should leave now, I said quietly. Olivia jumped up and grabbed my shoulders with her sharp red nails. Don't even think about rejecting your duty, she growled, her perfumed breath in my face. You either pay up, or you can forget about having a relationship with Patrick and any future grandchildren. I shook her off forcefully. Get out of my house this instant, I yelled. They left without another word, but I saw them exchange a triumphant smirk. My heart sank, realizing that the engagement celebration I had hoped for would only bring greed, manipulation, and pain. The next evening, tired from a long day at work, but determined to resolve the issue, I prepared a simple pasta dinner. I hoped to have an open talk with Patrick. I heard the front door slam and braced myself as loud footsteps echoed down the hall. Something smells good, Patrick said, breezing into the kitchen and heading straight for the wine cabinet. My hopes lifted for a moment, then quickly faded as Olivia followed him, reeking of heavy perfume. So much for a private chat with my son. To what do I owe the pleasure? I asked Riley, draining the pasta. You're going to love what we have planned, Olivia said, ignoring my tone as she rummaged through her designer handbag. We met with the wedding coordinator today, and everything is set. All we need is one little thing from you. She pulled out a folder stuffed with brochures and invoices. Just sign on the dotted line for the $60,000 wedding package. I froze, a chill running down my spine. $60,000 for a one-day celebration. That's outrageous. It's our special day, Patrick whined. Don't I deserve the very best? I tried to reason with him. Son, let's scale back and have an intimate, meaningful ceremony instead of this circus. Olivia slammed the folder down. You incompetent hag. Who said this was open for discussion? She screeched. You will pay every penny to give your only son his dream wedding. Rage boiled inside me. Through gritted teeth, I replied, You entitled, nasty piece of… Mom, stop. We all turned in surprise to see my daughter, Joyce, standing firmly in the doorway. I had been so focused on the argument, I hadn't even heard her come in. "Stay out of this, dyke," Olivia snarled at my tattooed, alternative graphic novelist daughter. "This doesn't concern you." "The hell it doesn't," Joyce retorted. "You don't talk that way to my mother." She crossed the room to stand protectively beside me. I might have been annoyed by her stepping in, always trying to be the strong, independent matriarch. But at that moment, her support was a lifeline, and I welcomed it. Patrick threw his hands up dramatically. "I asked for one little wedding, and my whole family turns against me." He pointed accusingly at his sister. "This is all your fault," filling Mom's head with nonsense. "She owes me this money and her loyalty." Joyce folded her arms. "Mom owes you nothing but basic respect, which you clearly don't show her. She raised you alone after Dad died, working tirelessly to give you everything, and this is how you repay her. With shameless exploitation." My son had no response other than childish whimpers. Joyce turned to me, her tattooed hand gripping mine firmly. "Stay strong, Mom. Set boundaries and demand the respect you deserve. I've got your back." The knot in my chest loosened with immense relief. My daughter's unwavering support washed away my self-doubts. I would not bow down to these greedy, manipulative people for another minute. I stood tall, feeling empowered. "You both have two choices," I said to Patrick and Olivia in a loud, clear voice. "Treat me and my daughter with basic decency, or get the hell out of our lives." Olivia opened her mouth, probably to say something nasty, but she caught Joyce's fierce glare and thought better of it. She dragged a whimpering Patrick out by his ear instead. I squeezed Joyce's hand, my eyes filled with grateful tears. "How did I get so lucky to have a daughter like you?" She smiled crookedly. "Just a chip off the old block. Now, let's dish up that pasta and plan our next move. These jerks don't know who they're messing with." The next week crawled by with intense uncertainty. My phone buzzed constantly with demanding texts and voicemails from Patrick, raging when I didn't call him back immediately. I started screening my calls, not having the energy to deal with his abusive tirades. On Saturday afternoon, I decided to treat myself to a manicure to lift my spirits. As I sat relaxing while the technician groomed my nails, my phone buzzed again. Normally, I would ignore it, but glancing down, I saw it was a call from Patrick's number. Curiosity got the best of me. "Hi, honey," I answered cautiously. "It's your witch of a mother," came Olivia's grating voice instead. My blood instantly started boiling. I was about to hang up when I heard Patrick's sneering tones in the background. "Is the old bag actually taking your call? She's been dodging mine all week." There was a rustling sound, followed by Patrick's voice coming clearly through the phone speaker. "Mom, what the hell? I've been calling nonstop. Have you given any more thought to funding the wedding? The coordinator is breathing down my neck." I was about to say no firmly, but Olivia's shrill voice cut me off. "Oh, let it go already. She's clearly a lost cause." There was a slap sound, as if she hit his arm. "Your mother is a dried-up, selfish prune. Once we're married, we'll change all the account passwords so she can never access our money." My eyes widened in shock. "Our money?" There was more rustling than Olivia's grating voice continued. "Why are we even still inviting her to the wedding? She'll just show up wearing some raggedy outfit from the clearance rack at TJ Maxx." Their loud laughter made my blood boil, but worse was Patrick's reply. "Right? And you know she's going to be all whiny about contributing to our future, as if that small life insurance payout could compare to what I make in a month." The hair on my neck stood up in anger. That small payout was nearly $500,000 that I had invested for retirement, not blown on sports cars and designer clothes like my son. Olivia scoffed loudly. "Oh please, we both know it was your daddy's money that got you into that firm. Your mother couldn't manage an allowance without a man's help." "Hell yes to that," Patrick cackled. "And we put that inheritance money to way better use, like annual trips to Messina, first class all the way." Their laughter was too much. I stamped the red phone icon so hard I nearly cracked the screen. Those money-grubbing snakes. I had suspected their motives, but hearing their vile words firsthand rocked me to the core. My hands shook with rage and indignation. I waved away the technician's concerned glances, threw a wad of cash on the counter, and rushed out the door. I drove home in record time, burning with the need to unload to Joyce. Thankfully, she was already there, her motorcycle parked haphazardly on the driveway. I burst through the front door, and she jumped up from the couch, startled by my frazzled state. The story came pouring out in an angry torrent. Joyce's green eyes blazed. "Those conniving," she yelled. "I knew it all along. It was never about family or celebration. They just see you as a cash machine." "I feel so betrayed and used," I said bitterly, choking back tears of frustration. "My only son, how could he?" Joyce gripped my shoulders, her piercing gaze meeting mine. "Mom, listen to me. We need to gather evidence and expose these cockroaches for who they really are." She get her fist into her palm decisively. "Contact the wedding coordinator, get documentation of everything, and demand they arrange things without your consent. I'll dig into Olivia's background too. I bet her family is rich despite those fake tears. We're going to shut this whole circus down." Hope and courage surged in me. My wonderful daughter was right. It was time to take control and fight back. I pulled her in for a fierce hug, more grateful than ever for her integrity and strength. "Let's go nail their greedy asses to the wall." Over the next 3 weeks, Joyce and I gathered tons of evidence exposing Patrick and Olivia's deceit. Joyce discovered that Olivia came from a very wealthy family. Her father owns a huge real estate investment firm, and he could easily pay for the extravagant wedding. Meanwhile, I got financial records from the wedding coordinator showing the ridiculous expenses Patrick and Olivia were trying to stick me with $75,000 and counting. "We have everything we need to confront these swindlers," Joyce declared, spreading paperwork across the dining table. "Let's invite them over to review wedding plans and then drop the hammer on them." Her green eyes gleamed with determination. I set the trap, inviting them over under the pretense of discussing wedding details and financing. They took the bait instantly. Right on time, the doorbell rang urgently. Before I could even answer, Patrick and Olivia barged in, reeking of arrogance and no. 6. "Where's my check?" Patrick demanded right away. Subtlety had never been his strong suit. Olivia elbowed him sharply and put on a syrupy smile. "Yes, do tell us the good news," she said sweetly. "We have so many decisions to finalize for our big day." I gestured for them to take a seat. Under the table, Joyce silently slid me a thick manila envelope containing the damning evidence. My heart pounded, but my resolve hardened my nerves. I folded my hands tightly on the table. "Before we discuss any further arrangements, I have a few concerns to address." I removed the paperwork from the envelope and spread it out in front of me. According to the wedding coordinator, current expenses total $95,000. "Care to explain?" Olivia scoffed loudly. "It's the wedding of the century. What do you expect?" "I expect honest communication of finances and shared responsibility," I replied evenly. "For example, why don't Olivia's wealthy parents contribute their fair share?" After all, I pulled out a copy of her dad's business profile showing a net worth in the tens of millions. They could easily afford this. Olivia turned pale, and Patrick sputtered angrily. "Leave Olivia's family out of this. My wedding, my financial support." He pointed a finger at me. "And you're my mother, so cut the check." Having expected this denial, I was ready. I calmly slid over the pile of invoices and contracts. "These documents prove otherwise. They have my forged signature authorizing non-refundable down payments totaling $250,000 so far." "Care to explain that?" Olivia gasped dramatically. "Are you accusing us of fraud?" From beside me, Joyce suddenly slammed down her fist. "Damn straight she is." Joyce's unexpected outburst stunned them into silence. She then scattered the contents of the manila envelope across the table. Bank statements, screenshots, phone records, irrefutable evidence of their lies and manipulation. It's all here in black and white, Joyce spat with disgust. You snakes have been exploiting my mother's love and trust this whole time, never caring about family bonds, just what you can swindle out of her. You were spying on us? Patrick spluttered in outrage. Gathering evidence against your fraud, I corrected. Now that everything is laid bare, you will cancel this sham wedding immediately. Olivia shot up from her chair, nostrils flaring. How dare you, she shrieked. I will be marrying Patrick with or without your money. She turned to my son with a pout. Back me up here. But Patrick just sat there, pale and trembling, the magnitude of the revelations leaving him speechless. Olivia rolled her eyes in disgust. You spineless mama's boy. Forget it. She snatched her designer handbag and stormed out, pausing in the doorway to deliver one final venomous glare. You'll regret this, she hissed at me. We won't forget. She flounced away in a cloud of channel. I stared eagerly at my shaken son. Nor will we, I said quietly. Now leave. He scrambled up hurriedly, but just before exiting he mumbled a soft but clear threat. I'll make you pay for this. The day I had been dreading arrived. Patrick and Olivia's lavish wedding. I had hoped our confrontation would end it, but these stubborn snakes pursued their farce of a wedding anyway, blowing through even more of the retirement money I had entrusted to Patrick's accounts. I sat there, unwillingly part of their twisted wedding circus. All around me, drunk guests gambled under flashy flower arrangements that cost more than my first car. The centerpiece was an 8-tier fondant cake covered in handcrafted sugar flowers, with Patrick and Olivia's smug faces in a massive golden frame above it. My daughter Joyce lurched next to me, wearing ripped jeans and combat boots, her green pixie cut clashing with the pastel bridesmaid dresses. We watched the over-the-top spectacle, barely hiding our disgust. Suddenly, the music switched to a loud wedding march. The crowd quieted as Patrick took his place under the tacky archway. My heart clenched. He looked so much like his father, tall and handsome in his tuxedo, beaming with charm. Not a trace of the greedy boy I had confronted weeks ago. He radiated pride as his bride floated down the aisle in a designer gown, likely charged to my credit card. Old memories and grief welled up. I had walked that same path over 35 years ago, full of dreams of a lifelong partnership and family, dreams that had soared quickly. My faith in love and devotion had died with my husband, and now our son showed the same callous disregard. As the ceremony droned on, anger simmered within me. I couldn't bless this loveless union with my presence any longer. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping loudly across the floor. All eyes turned to me. Joyce grabbed my hand supportively. I apologize, but I cannot stay silent about this travesty, I said, my voice clear. Murmurs rippled through the stunned guests. Patrick flushed, shrinking under my bold stare. Before he could respond, Olivia shoved past him, her eyes full of fury. How dare you interrupt my perfect day, she spat, advancing toward me with outstretched, manicured claws. I stepped back, recoiling from her vicious energy. Joyce immediately confronted the enraged bride. Back off, she warned, shielding me protectively. A hush fell over the room. No one moved to intervene. Patrick hung his head, refusing to meet my gaze, offering no objection to his new wife's vitriol. My heart cracked, all illusions shattered. I no longer had a son. This greedy, spineless stranger would never again have my devotion or resources. I stepped around Joyce to address the crowd. Let all bear witness to this hollow, pretentious sham of matrimony, I declared boldly. I refuse to enable these snakes any further and cut all ties. The farce ends now. I turned sharply towards the exit, my skirt swishing dramatically as I passed my stunned son. I paused long enough to repeat the often hurled threat. You'll regret this. Then I strode purposefully away without a backward glance, Joyce right beside me, our shoes clacking a steady beat as we walked out of that den of iniquity. We emerged into watery sunlight, the doors cutting off Olivia's frenzied shrieks behind us. I took my first free breath in ages, relief washing over me as we climbed into Joyce's waiting car. I patted my daughter's tattooed hand affectionately. "Thank you for standing by me in there." She grinned crookedly. "Are you kidding? I've waited years for a chance to tell Olivia off." As we drove away from the lavish lies behind us, tears pricked my eyes, but for once they were not from grief or regret. Looking at my beautiful, loyal daughter smiling back at me, I knew I would never stand alone again. In the months following the cursed wedding, I changed phone numbers, moved, and transferred my remaining assets, cutting off all contact with Patrick and his venomous bride. I heard through the grapevine that they had gone through with their honeymoon in Messina, no doubt funded by what was left of my retirement savings. Let them gorge themselves on luxury, I thought bitterly. It was only a matter of time before reality caught up. Sure enough, merely a year later, Patrick came begging. I returned home one evening to find him hunched on my doorstep, unshaven and reeking of stale cigarettes. The shock was so great that I froze momentarily, packages slipping from my hands. Patrick's bloodshot eyes showed a flash of embarrassment as he made a half-hearted attempt to help gather my things before mumbling, "Hey Ma, can we talk?" I brushed past him silently to unlock my front door, gesturing him stiffly inside. He hovered awkwardly as I put away groceries with deliberate slowness, bracing myself before finally addressing him. "What do you want?" I asked bluntly. Patrick cleared his throat. "I need your help. Just temporarily," he added quickly, as if that lessened the audacity. "I'm between jobs right now, and Olivia is pretty pissed that I can't cover her spending." "Absolutely not." My sharp refusal halted his rambling excuses. I crossed my arms, rage and satisfaction warring within me. "You made this bed. Lie in it?" Patrick gaped, unaccustomed to blunt denial from his doting mother. "Come on, Ma. I'm desperate here. Can't you just spot me a few grand?" He took a pleading step forward. "I'll pay you back, I swear." I stood unmoving as granite before my prodigal son. "You had no intention of paying me back the first time you ransacked my accounts." I reminded him coldly, "Why should I trust your empty promises now?" He flushed and said, "Look, I was wrong before, okay? But I'm still your son." I cut him off with a swift gesture. "You lost that privilege long ago. I have no son." I pointed a finger at his shocked face. "Now you reap what you've sown. Get out." He opened and closed his mouth, but couldn't argue against my firm disgust. Shoulders slumped, Patrick scooped out the door and out of my life once more. It was about time he faced harsh reality. I quickly locked the door before the vindication I felt could turn into pity or regret. There could be no forgiveness for someone who repeatedly betrayed me. Patrick's wretched appearance showed that karma had caught up with him. The next thing I heard, his fancy tech startup had crashed after less than a year. My business connections had blacklisted him, and no investor would touch his dubious proposals. Meanwhile, Olivia had run back to her daddy's wallet after too many fights over unpaid bills. Last I heard, she was divorcing my son and living with some old sugar daddy in Royal Palace. Joyce and I toasted to their misery with cocktails that night, laughing at rumors of Patrick working fast food jobs under a fake name. I felt no guilt for his suffering. "Karma's a bitch," Joyce grinned, raising her martini glass. "Here's to many more years of her gnawing on those greedy bastards." No truer words have been spoken, I agreed, clinking my glass to hers. Over the next year and a half, Joyce's career took off. More high-profile clients wanted her unique tattoo style and artistic graphic novels. She even secured an agent and a publishing deal for her provocative memoir, a brutal tell all about our family saga that was generating buzz before it even hit the shelves. Behind closed doors, Joyce relied on my sharp business instincts to manage her growing finances. I used my decades of investment experience to establish trademarks, negotiate publishing rights, and maximize profits. I swelled with pride watching my daughter's passions flourish under my careful guidance. Soon Joyce was regularly featured in edgy fashion magazines and sought-after graphic anthologies. She bought a sleek downtown loft as her business base, proudly showcasing the extravagant views she had earned through her talents. To celebrate Joyce's rapid rise, we toasted to her success, knowing that we had triumphed over the past. I decided to host a small gathering of key supporters and collaborators at her stylish new place. The catered event would mark her official arrival as an artistic visionary and independent woman of means. Joyce greeted guests with uncharacteristic nervous energy as I directed caterers to arrange free-flowing champagne and delicate canapes. "You have nothing to worry about," I reassured my daughter as I straightened her smart blazer. "Just be your normal, captivating self. These people already adore you." Soon, the loft overflowed with Joyce's inner circle. Daring writers, leading publishers, edgy photographers, and even some A-list celebrities from her clientele came to toast their favorite tattoo artist. Pride swelled in my chest as I heard powerful figures celebrating my talented daughter. This was the kind of launch party Patrick could only dream about. 3 years ago, our family name was tarnished by greed and failure, but now, through Joyce's virtues, respect had not only been restored but elevated to elite status. Late into the evening, I stepped onto the balcony with Joyce, gazing over the vibrant city lights. She squeezed my hand gently. "None of this would be possible without you, Mom. You believed in me when no one else did, invested in me, fought for me. I'll owe you forever." I wrapped one arm around her shoulders, champagne flute in the other hand. "Nonsense, my brave darling. Your success comes from your vision and talents. I just helped with the business side so you could create freely." Joyce grinned. "I inherited your business savvy along with Dad's creative spirit." She clinked her glass to mine. "To the dynamic duo, may we always prevail over vipers and thieves." I laughed, my heart swelling with joy. My daughter and I had overcome greed and betrayal to now bask in self-made success. As the lively celebration continued behind us, I silently offered a final toast to her beloved father. We had created a fine legacy, built from integrity, courage, and hard work, not entitlement or manipulation. That legacy now stood as a testament for all the Patricks of the world to envy for years to come. Over the next 3 years, Joyce's star continued to rise brilliantly. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual contacts that Patrick was struggling with obscurity and mounting debt. His lavish lifestyle lasted a while on credit before it all came crashing down. The rare times his name came up, it was tied to seedy gossip and tabloid scandals, from Olivia's very public affair to Patrick getting fired from a car dealership for not making payments. Karma seemed intent on grinding my prodigal son into the dirt. I ignored the lurid headlines with quiet satisfaction, confident I would never see him again. By now, I had retired from corporate leadership to focus on passion projects, indulging in artistic hobbies, volunteering with disadvantaged youth, and planning leisurely global adventures. I decided it was also time to downsize to a lower-maintenance home. After a long search, I found my perfect oasis, a private bungalow in a picturesque coastal senior community. Mature trees and vibrant gardens welcomed me each morning as I went on scenic nature walks with dear widowed friends. The idyllic setting and social kinship brought me a sense of peace I hadn't realized was missing. Meanwhile, Joyce had also found her soulmate, a brilliant software developer named Alice who adored her vibrant spirit. I instantly sensed true partnership potential upon meeting Alice, and my instincts proved correct. Just months after moving in together, Joyce excitedly announced their engagement. I whooped with joy when she flashed the unique geometric ring Alice had custom designed. "My darling girl," I exclaimed through happy tears, "I'm thrilled you found someone deserving of your tremendous heart." The private garden wedding ceremony Joyce described echoed my own intimate vision from 3 decades prior. No showy fanfare, just profound lifelong commitment witnessed by cherished friends and family. I clasped Joyce's hand, overcome with emotion at how perfectly she was manifesting the dreams her father and I once had. Later, during wedding planning over tea and biscuits, Joyce hesitated before bringing up the subject I knew she would. "Mom, about inviting Patrick." I waved a hand briskly. "Let's not sully your special day by entertaining that notion." Joyce bit her lip. "I just can't help but pity him, you know. He's clearly a miserable screw-up, but he's still family, even if he doesn't deserve it. I wonder if including him would be the right thing." She trailed off uncertainly. Recognizing my daughter's enduring compassion, even for those who least deserved it, I patted her hand reassuringly. "You needn't ever compromise your kind principles. If showing some small mercy to Patrick eases your mind, do it. I can tolerate his presence just this once." Joyce exhaled in relief and squeezed my hand gratefully. "You're the best, Mom. I knew you'd understand." The sentimental moment was interrupted by my ringing phone. I was stunned to see Patrick's name flash across the screen. Months had passed since his last desperate, drunken voicemail pleading for money. With a grim face, I silenced the call. "Speak of the devil," I remarked. Joyce shook her head. "He never stops trying to worm his way back in. But don't worry, Mom. After the wedding, you'll never have to deal with his garbage again." I smiled gently at my daughter's protective tone. She was right. The time had long passed for me to entertain Patrick's self-pitying attempts. I now had all I needed in my tranquil life, surrounded by those who nurtured my soul. No distractions from a toxic past could ever breach that blessing. I patted Joyce's hand resolutely. "Onwards and upwards, my dear. Now, tell me more about the lovely flower arrangements you envisioned."